Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are, won't make a single bit of difference to what was an incredible day, evening, night, and morning at the US Open. Get your thoughts in the live chat. There's only one place to start, of course, and that is with last night's match between Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. It's been described in many different ways: match of the year, match of the decade, match of the century. Let's say this: it was just an incredible occasion. The US Open Twitter account actually even mentioned how maybe this is one of the matches that they've ever hosted, one of the best matches they've ever hosted. Was just incredible. 5 sets lasting, I think it was 4 hours and 50 minutes. The second longest match in US Open history, and finishing at the latest time it's ever finished, which is 2 hours and 50. 2:50 at 10 to 3 this morning. So that was the stat. Actually, I think it actually went over 5 hours in the end of the match itself. Just incredible, though. To be honest with you, the length of the match doesn't do it justice. So many incredible points, so many incredible moments. I'm going to go through the match, but I'm also going to halt at various points to just highlight incredible exchanges between two incredible players that brought the best out of themselves. And I think that's really interesting because sometimes we see these two players, maybe a bit more Jannik Sinner, seeming to just go through, go out, play tennis, go home. But what you see is when these two guys come together, they just bring the best out of themselves. We had a little snippet, didn't we, a few weeks ago? I think it was maybe in Montreal when they were in practice, and there was this incredible point that went viral on YouTube to illustrate just how incredibly intensively they were practicing, but also some of the incredible points that they were managing to produce. And they produced several last night. I've managed to get it down to about 6 or 7, but to be honest with you, the highlights reel could be 50 points, which would be about a third of the match, which is just incredible. I mean, let's go through the match, and I'll also, as I say, from time to time, bring up some of the points. So yeah, it finished at 10 to 3 in the morning, which is the latest ever in US Open history. Many people struggling to stay awake, including me. I managed to see basically the whole match, but there were moments of blurriness which I wasn't quite sure if I was sleeping or I just couldn't believe what I was seeing with my eyes. Anyway, live chat news. Hi, Lexi. Nice to have you on board. Lexi, I have to confess, I didn't get to see the match live. I had 2 choices last night. I was thinking to myself, shall I get both women's semi-finals for today, or shall I go for the Sinner Alcaraz match? And also, of course, also in action last night was Iga Swiatek, and her match will be coming to shortly as she played Jessica Pegula. And I opted for the women's semi-final, so I'll be going this evening. But yeah, maybe I made a mistake. But that's the thing. Tennis, we can't predict the future, and I had a feeling it was going to be a good match. I thought maybe it would be finished in 4 sets, but hey, listen, it was a match for the ages. Anyway, it begins in really good way for the Spaniard with him winning. Oh, by the way, Zoltan, thanks very much for your comment there. Great coverage of the event so far. Hopefully, I'll be able to maintain that level or maybe even increase it. That's a question also whether Alcaraz can also maintain this level as he's about to meet Frances Tiafoe in tomorrow's semi-final, and Tiafoe's match with Rublev is also something I will be addressing during this show. But if you excuse me, the opening salvo for this show, of course, has to be dedicated to this absolute marathon epic between the two protagonists from Italy and Spain. And Alcaraz took an early lead 2-love. And at that stage, I'm thinking, okay, it's not that significant, but still, it's an early marker. Jannik Sinner was having none of it. He breaks back immediately and makes it 2-all. And at this point, I want to bring us to the first point of the match, which was just, for me, insane. As I say, I could highlight several, but I'm going to focus on this one to begin with. And it is at 2-all and deuce. With Sinner serving, we see him now serve out wide to Jannik Sinner's forehand. Sinner then gets it back. onto the forehand Alcaraz gets it back onto the forehand of Sinner. Doesn't seem to be a particularly spectacular point at this stage, but this is when things get interesting. Sinner goes big on the forehand, forcing Alcaraz out wide, who's now on the defensive. What's Alcaraz going to do? Well, the best he can do is just basically get it back into play. Now it's on the forehand of Sinner, and you're thinking, okay, Sinner, here we go. He's going to unwield something pretty big here, pretty special. He sure does. Out wide to now the Alcaraz backhand, obviously the right-hander. Alcaraz scoops it back into play, but more than scoops it back into play. Actually, it's a threatening, because he does read it pretty well, it's a threatening shot across the bows of Sinner, who, what does Sinner do? Gets down, does an unbelievably cushioned volley, and look where Sinner is, by the way. Look where he is, and the ball is about here. What happens next? Alcaraz, just whizzing across the court, attempts to chase it down, does chase it down, gets his racket onto it. Unbelievable. Now we're looking at a lob, and a lob. How the hell did he get his racket on it? I don't know. But he's not only got his racket on it, he's sent it back with interest. And now it's Sinner's turn to scamper towards the back of the court. He does so, but he's in big trouble. If he gets his racket on the ball, I'll be impressed. If he gets it back in play, I'll be even more impressed. Oh, hello. Backhand, swinging shot. Alcaraz, almost stunned, can't believe it, flies past him for a winner from Jannik Sinner. It's just insane. Check out the highlights on YouTube. They are there for you to see. And listen, it was breathtaking. That point alone was breathtaking, and there's plenty more to come. Lexi, they're saying that she thought the match was great, beyond great, actually. Yeah, breathtaking is the word I use, even though she wasn't a huge fan of either. Yeah, I think some of us maybe weren't huge fans of either before this match, but maybe many of the people leaving the stadium would have become fans after. So, breathtaking point number one, dealt with. But ultimately, they're on serve at this point. The fifth game, though, of that first set was insane, with deuces galore before Sinner does eventually hold to make it 3-2. Now, moving on, though, crucial moment in the first set, and I guess given how tight it was, a crucial moment in the whole match. Alcaraz breaking with an excellent backhand return, which became a point for him on several occasions. In fact, the return of serve from Alcaraz, both on the forehand and the backhand side, was insane. And it was one of those such examples that brought up 4-3. And in fact, that backhand return hit the baseline, and I think Sinner was just stunned at that point. Then we had two lobs from Carlos Alcaraz. Alcaraz on the lob. It was a common theme as well. 50% seemingly successful, 50% seemingly not. There was a few, remember, when we saw Sinner taking air shots at various points in the match. And it was one such or two such lobs in the game that basically ended up helping Carlos Alcaraz go on to take that first set with a double break, as it turned out, including a forehand return winner, which was actually on set point, winning it 6-3. Are you keeping up, ladies and gentlemen? First set Alcaraz, first blood Alcaraz, 6-3, including, I think, altogether in that set, he broke Sinner's serve 3 times and Sinner broke once, which, bearing in mind, I think Alcaraz had barely touched the serve of Jannik Sinner in the previous 2 matches they'd had at Wimbledon and also on clay earlier this summer. I think he hadn't even broken his serve at either of those matches over the course of 4, 6, or 7 sets, maybe, altogether in those 2 matches. Hadn't broken serve once, now breaks Sinner 3 times in that first set. I was almost starting to think with Carlos Alcaraz at this point, and very much so now, that he has Grand Slam mode too. He has Grand Slam mode. We heard it from Rafa Nadal going into this tournament, as he said, time for Grand Slam mode. And you thought, yeah, this is the difference between the big 3 and the rest, with Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal just seemingly to be different beasts over 5 sets. Well, Alcaraz's winning record after last night in 5 sets, I think, is now 7-1. It's either 6-1 or 7-1. I think Alcaraz is a different beast at these slams as well. With the exception of that defeat to Zverev earlier this year at the French, I think he's excelled in all the majors that he's played. Okay, set 2. We're not even a fifth of the way through this match yet, and we're already 10 minutes into today's 20 minutes. So I did notice at this point as well that drop shots wasn't something that Alcaraz was deploying. We saw him do it a lot on the clay. Excuse me a second. We saw a lot on the clay earlier this year, where drop shots galore, particularly against Djokovic in Madrid, was a ploy from Alcaraz. We've seen it a bit less at this tournament, quite possibly because of the surface, quite possibly with Sinner, maybe his position on the court as well doesn't encourage it. We did see a couple, I think, towards the end of the match, actually ultimately winning points for Alcaraz, but it wasn't a tactic that he seemed to be resorting to like he did in other matches. Josh there suggesting that he still thinks Alcaraz can go a lot further in his career and has greater potential. Well, naturally, that would make sense. I guess it's the serve that could well improve. But to be honest with you, I prefer matches when the player's serve is not their strong point. I hope it doesn't get too good. Otherwise, I think we could be looking at an insane level of tennis. Sinner was one good serve from a 4-set victory. Let's not pretend this pretends something superior about Alcaraz, the player. Yeah, I know what you mean, and we're going to come to that. But listen, I don't want to take anything away from this match, Ghost, which was epic. And an epic part of that, of course, was the fact that Sinner had it in his hands. And we'll come to that now, because I guess the beginning of the second set is perhaps a slight momentum shift with some excellent touch volleys from Jannik Sinner at the net, by the way, which became a marking point, a trademark of this match. And that helped him take a break and a 3-1 lead at the beginning of the second set. And a slight shift in momentum, but it wasn't permanent, as we're about to find out. Unbelievable point number 2. So unbelievable that I'm actually going to show 2 images, if you like, to explain it. It comes towards the end of this second set. I think it's 5-3 with Alcaraz serving. Let me just have a quick look at this point. Sorry, hang on a second. I've got to do it here. Yes, it's sorry, no, it's here we are. This is what it is. It's no, it's this one here. Sorry, tell a lie. It's not this point. It's this one here. So Alcaraz now is 6-3 from the first set, but 3-5 down in the second. So he's one game away from losing this set, but he is serving, and it's the opening point of this set. And we have Sinner there on the backhand, going to go big down the line to the forehand of Alcaraz. Alcaraz deep here, about 4 or 5 meters behind the line. The ball is whizzing through the air, and it looks like it's going to be a winner. But this is Carlos Alcaraz, of course, we're dealing with. And he manages to get his racket on the ball, get it back into play. But still, Jannik Sinner is the heavy favorite as he approaches the net now for this point. Sinner gets his racket on it. We've now got Alcaraz scampering again, this time to the left-hand side. He gets his racket on it, attempts a pass, but of course he's largely on the defensive, so it's not an unbelievable pass. And actually, Sinner now with a volley here. But actually, I was wrong. It flies past Sinner. Can we see this again? Have a quick look at this. Cannot believe it. From this, can you imagine Jannik Sinner winning the point from, let's just go back a second. So can you imagine Carlos Alcaraz winning the point from here? Can you imagine that? Well, imagine it and believe it, because he ends up scampering across the court again. Once again, I'm just going to repeat this. And he gets his racket on it, and he gets his racket on it with interest as he gets a backhand pass down the line. 15, love Alcaraz. He goes on to hold his serve. He goes on to break Sinner's serve, making it 5-all. If Sinner, of course, had broken in this particular game, it would have been 1-all. Alcaraz breaks. It's 5-4. It becomes 5-all. And then it becomes 6-5 Alcaraz. And we have this point to talk about. Sinner serving at 5-6. It's a game point for Sinner, but Alcaraz is sort of trying to wrestle this set away from the Italian. Obviously, had the Italian having an early advantage with that break, but Sinner now back on serve. Sinner, of course, at this juncture is 3 points away from in the set, and Sinner is 1 point away from taking it to a tiebreak. And we have Sinner serving to the backhand of Alcaraz. Gets his racket on it, but it's a good first serve. The ball goes looping up into the air. Now Sinner gets to steady himself, probably hoping to get a winner off this next shot. He goes for it big. He's on the forehand. Is he going to go back behind Jannik, or is he going to go probably slightly easier shot would be to go this way in this direction? Let's have a quick look. He does take the slightly easier option, understandably so, but actually it ends up going towards the body of Alcaraz. Alcaraz outruns the ball, quite possibly too quick for his own good. And then this happens. He's now got it behind him and he's scooping it up in what many have described as the point of the championship. It's a point incredible that he actually gets his racket on it and actually gets it back in play. Never mind the fact what happens next. It goes over the net. It's a tricky one for Sinner, but I guess you'd still make him with the momentum of this point and probably the favourite to win it. He scoops it up with a half volley. Alcaraz still has a lot of work to do here as he chases this down. Alcaraz's speed, I was in awe of his speed last night as he chases this down, chases this down, chases this down, gets it onto the backhand, still on the absolute stretch here. I mean, the stretches of Alcaraz were insane, by the way, for a backhand passing winner. Just remember, for those 2 points I've just highlighted, where Alcaraz was in the moment during those points. We saw that one where he's, how the hell he got his forehand on it and how the hell he got back into the point and how the hell he produced a backhand winner down the line. I will never know. How on earth for this point did he get his racket on it behind the ball and end up winning the point with an unbelievable passing shot here on the stretch? I will never know. The US Open Twitter account, of course, now is going into overdrive, creating this marvelous little GIF. I'm going to go back to the live chat, see what you guys are saying about some of these shots. I will come back and share some other thoughts with you in a second as well. Let's just go back to maybe this screen here. Yeah. So this now goes into a tiebreak, as we can see from this little image here. We can see how the tiebreak pans out, with Sinner ultimately prevailing 9-7 in the tiebreak to take it 7-6. I think incredible mental strength from Sinner. Obviously, he had a few advantages in that set. Listen, Alcaraz with some of these unbelievable points, and yet still Sinner gets himself composed. And I think it was a mini break as well. And there was lots of breaks of serve in this particular tiebreak. But Sinner takes it. And to be honest with you, the set point return from Sinner at 8-7 also is worthy of a mention. It's an incredible return of serve that basically ends up breaking Alcaraz and obviously sealing the set. All in all, by the way, Carlos Alcaraz, I think, had 4 set points, both in the final game at 6-5 and then also through the tiebreak. Alcaraz had 4 set points, and Sinner, I think, on Carlos Alcaraz had 5. But then Sinner aced him, I think, on the 5th set point in that tiebreak. I'm just trying to remember now. And then Sinner takes advantage, and ultimately with a backhand, unbelievable winner of set point. Means 9-7 Sinner. We're into a third. Carlos breaks early, 4-2. Sinner breaks back immediately, 4-all. Carlos Alcaraz breaks again, 6-5. Are you keeping up, ladies and gentlemen? 1 set all. Alcaraz leads 6-5 with a break, is serving for the second set. Let's have a quick look at another sensational point from this match. And it's at this stage, as I said, Alcaraz serving for the set at deuce. 6-5, 2 points away from taking a 2-1 and significant lead. let's have a quick look at this point. So Alcaraz is serving. Remember how important this is, because Alcaraz is potentially going to go set point up on his opponent. Okay, it's a decent serve. It's a really good serve, I should say, down the tee to the backhand of Sinner. Alcaraz looks like he's about to run into the net, by the way. In fact, he does, but he sort of maybe gets caught a bit in no man's land here. Ends up sort of semi-retreating just inside the baseline. Now it's on the forehand of Alcaraz, and we know how strong he is on that forehand, as he wheels this forehand now back, and he whacks it across court. Now to the Sinner. Sinner's on the chase on the forehand, though. Should still get it. Does, but he's obviously going for a defensive forehand slice. Alcaraz still very much in charge of this point, but good defense there from Sinner as Alcaraz gets ready to wield another forehand. This time down the line, chasing it up. Look at Alcaraz on the move. The second the ball leaves his racket, by the way. And now it's again Sinner's time to chase. Chasing down on the backhand side of Sinner. Sinner, though, does well, gets the ball, back into the play. But now we've got Alcaraz coming towards the net. Maybe he could have been another couple of centimeters closer to the net. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. He gets his racket on it. Forehand, nice little drop volley there. Is it from him? No, it's a bit deeper in the court. Now it's Sinner's turn to be again on the defensive. But Sinner, smelling a blood here, smelling blood, goes for the passing shot down the line. Alcaraz, though, gets his racket on it. Now it's Sinner's turn to chase again, gets it up, scoops it up off the ground. I think that's the incredible thing here. We see him scoop the ball off the ground and in for a winner, and Alcaraz just looks on in dismay. Break point Sinner. Sinner breaks. 6-all. We go into the tie break. And Sinner wins that tiebreak 7-0. Bear in mind how epic the match has been, how nip and tuck, how many breaks of serve, how many incredible shots from both players, how many times have players looked down and out. And now it's Sinner with a 2-1 advantage lead, but not just 2-1. 7-love without dropping a point in that tiebreak. That means I think it was something like, I think he won maybe 9 or 10, I think it was 10 points in a row that Sinner won at this stage, to now mean he leads 2-1. Okay. What were your thoughts at this point in the match? I'm actually going to come to the live chat as well. For me, hi there, Michael. Thanks for the question. No, I'm staying in Queens, although Manhattan is there kind of in the background. That was the idea anyway. Thanks for the question, Michael, by the way. How are you? Are you going to be at the women's semis today? Were you at the match last night, Michael? Any other matches you're going to be attending? Would be great to cross paths if possible. Great to have you on board. By the way, I've barely had time to breathe. Make sure you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe. Apologies for some of the comments in the live chat that I've not actually got to. Ghost there saying, lol, epic shot from Carlitos, beautiful. I have no idea which one you're referring to because there were so many, but quite possibly, I guess it's the one behind his back and then he went on to win that one. Yeah. Anyway, did anyone else think Alcaraz was out after the third set tiebreak? Ashley, I think it's a good point. I think I did. I changed momentum on my predictions for this match about 100 times. And not just last night, even through the tournament. Before the tournament began, I had Sinner and Alcaraz on a collision course. And I actually thought that Sinner would prevail before the match began, before the tournament began. I was probably taking maybe too much reading from the two matches they had at Wimbledon and early on in the summer on clay. By the way, I say early on in the summer in clay because I can't remember where it was. Was it in Serbia, maybe? Croatia? Not sure. Anyway, one of the Balkan countries, I think. Are you going to go to the second men's semi-final, Michael? That's a nice one. So that'll be Alcaraz against almost, and I don't think they've released the schedule yet, but it'll almost certainly be Alcaraz against Tiafoe, and we'll be coming to Tiafoe's match very shortly, I do promise. But we've got to obviously deal with this one first. Hi, Lexi, as well, and hi, Ashley. Yeah, so what were your thoughts on the match at this stage now, with Sinner now 2-1 up? as I say, I changed my mind quite a few times on this match. Before the tournament began, I thought that Sinner would win this, and I was fairly confident in that prediction. I thought Alcaraz's form was becoming a bit patchy. Sinner's was getting better and better. Plus, I took a lot of thoughts, or a lot of my belief in that prediction. Okay, Michael, the schedule's out, so it will be Tiafoe. I'm sure it's going to be Tiafoe tomorrow night. Yeah, and there Gary saying he was sure that he was going to win it in 4. No more momentum changes, and there were 2 more. Yeah, it was an incredible match. Cool. Anyway, so where were we? Yeah, so I thought before the tournament Sinner would win. Then I started to see the way the 2 players were playing through the tournament. I thought Alcaraz was a bit more impressive in his 5-set 4th round win than Sinner was. So I started to think, actually, maybe Alcaraz will win this match. I then was told something yesterday, I think, that Alcaraz had managed to garner 7 break points in, I think, maybe at Wimbledon, or maybe even the 2 matches combined. And by the way, I was at Wimbledon for that match, and I think it was a bit of a surprise that it was a surprise to me that Sinner won that day. Maybe looking back, less so. But anyway, as the tournament progressed, I started to think Alcaraz. As the match progressed, I thought Alcaraz, then Sinner, then Alcaraz, then Sinner. But now I think I was becoming more convinced about Sinner at the beginning of that 4th set. And of course, what happens in that set 4? Well, at 3-all, a crucial moment in the match, it turned out not to be decisive, but we thought another sort of final confirmation of the momentum swing was a double fault from Carlos. And we did see it a couple of times during the match, but we saw real loss of not just serve, but also temper from Carlos Alcaraz at this point. I'll come to your question in a second, Ghost. So yeah, we saw him lose his serve and his temper. And we did see him sort of have a few exchanges with his box. I think there was a moment when Juan Carlos Ferrero was like this kind of thing, and almost sort of chuckling back at some of Alcaraz's barbs towards him. But they weren't too bad. They weren't quite Kyrgios-esque, but certainly what was Kyrgios-esque was the frustration he had with a double fault, losing his serve, whacks the ball into the crowd. And who knows where that could go. We all remember what happened to Djokovic a couple of years ago when basically there was no crowd. But nevertheless, Sinner breaks now, smashing the ball into the crowd, and it's 4-3 to the Italian. It goes 5-3 to the Italian, 5-4. I remember John McEnroe in commentary not seeming to be too concerned for Sinner at this juncture, where he said, look, you know, it's fine. Settle yourself down, sit down and think about how you're going to serve this match out. It's 5-4. Listen, at this point, of course, Sinner would bite your hand off before the match. If you could say, Sinner, you got a 2-1 lead and you're serving for the match at 5-4, would you take that before the match begins? Absolutely. Sinner gets a match point, but he also faces 2 break points. And this was not the best point of the match, but arguably it was the most important. And I'm going to come to it now on this second break point for Alcaraz. Here we are, I believe. Yes. So it is breakpoint Alcaraz, Sinner serving, I think, for the match. Is this? Have I got this right? Let me just check the score. Maybe it's the next one. No, it is this one, I think. Let's see. Oh, no, that's a different point. But it doesn't matter. It was an incredible point from Alcaraz that brought it up. Listen, the point I want to make is still relevant. In fact, I think it's the next point, actually. I think it's the next point. Yes, here it is. Alcaraz. No, it's not this point. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. That's match point Alcaraz there. Anyway, I've probably lost track of it somehow. But it was basically a point that really Sinner should have won. Let me see this. Yeah, so Sinner serving for the match, second break point, hits a volley into the tram lines, and that proved to be decisive. Yeah. That's in the fifth set. That's where I've got it wrong. That's where I've got it on. Okay, maybe it's here, is it? No, maybe it's here. No, okay, I know where it is. I'm going to bring it up because I do think it's quite important to show with Sinner serving for the match. If you can just bear with me, I've actually just lost track of this point. No, we're into the fifth set here. Okay, no worries. Listen, I'll get back to it because there's so much else to talk about. So, Sinner, big mistake there, serving for the match, now facing his second break point, hits an easy volley into the tram line. That's probably the one that he'll be having nightmares over. And it's probably, despite all those epic points, the most important point of the match because Sinner wins that point. It's back to deuce. Quite possibly he goes on to hold his serve. He doesn't. He loses his serve. Carlos Alcaraz has a lifeline. He breaks. It's 5-all. He breaks again and wins the set 7-5, thanks to winning 4 games in a row. Momentum shift again. Now back towards the Spaniard. It's 2 sets all, but Sinner has got to do it all again. It must feel like he's won the match already. And now he's got to win it again in the 5th set. Set 5. 2 games all. Again, Sinner demonstrates his incredible mental strength, breaking to take a 3-2 lead. Momentum shift towards the Italian. Another momentum shift, though, back towards Alcaraz with an immediate break back of 3-all. We're now looking at 3-all in the 5th set. Carlos Alcaraz breaks for 5-3. Also an incredible point at deuce in that 5-3 game. I think it was possibly one that I was about to show, but it doesn't matter. On his first match point, he aces Jannik Sinner and wins the match 3-6, 7-6, no, 6-3, excuse me, 6-3, 6-7, 6-7, 7-5, 6-3. Okay, I'm going to come to the live chat now and address some of your questions about the match, perhaps, also some of the other thoughts that you have. So let's have a quick look. Okay, what's this here from? Are you staying in Flushing by the tennis? I'm kind of between Manhattan and Flushing, if that makes sense. It takes me about half an hour to get from here to Flushing Meadows, but thanks for your questions, Michael. Yeah, it was interesting. Actually, they went to the boxes a lot on the TV cameras last night, didn't they? Both boxes seemed to be getting a lot of prominence last night. And yeah, I think it's interesting that Darren Cahill, of course, is Jannik Sinner's coach, and Sinner seems to have made some improvements under Cahill. I thought the split between Cahill and Simone Halep was bizarre, as was the appointment and subsequent situation with Mouratoglou. Equally bizarre, and Jannik Sinner is the beneficiary of that, picking up an excellent coach in Dan Cahill. I also thought maybe that was someone for Emma Raducanu. It's a year now since, of course, she won that US Open, and she's been through about 4 or 5 coaches. And let me just digress, if you don't mind me, for a few seconds. I think the coaching situation with Emma Raducanu is the biggest issue and the biggest reason for her inconsistency, let's say, over the last 12 months. Okay, digression done. Back to here, because I think it is relevant in terms of the coaches, because I think Sinner is the biggest beneficiary of this situation with Cahill, because he's certainly improved under the Australian coach. And Juan Carlos Ferrero and Carlos Alcaraz seem to have a great relationship and clearly seem to be a good foil for each other. I did see somebody ask about, I think it was Ghost asking about Alcaraz and 5 setters. I don't see where that question is in the chat, otherwise I would bring it up, Ghost. But basically, if I don't think it matters too much. 48 hours rest. He seems to be full of energy, full of beans, as we would say in the UK. And it was excellent to see him win that in 5 sets last night. And I don't think it's going to be an issue for him. I really don't. I think the points probably will end up being a bit shorter against Tiafoe with Tiafoe's huge serve. It'll be interesting to see how Alcaraz deals and tries to read that. It'll be interesting to see how both players deal with the occasion. So anyway, in answer to your question, Ghost, I don't think it'll be a problem him playing back-to-back 5-set matches. Maybe if this one goes to a 5th set as well, then we might see something. But we've seen how incredible he is. I think it's 6 out of 7 wins in 5-set matches at a major. Listen, Michael, someone on Twitter, not the most authoritative source, if you don't mind me saying. Okay, so, yeah. I don't know where it stands in the pantheon of greats, but yeah, Ashley, they're praising Cahill for being an awesome coach. I don't know where this stands. Listen, Sinner, I know, was devastated in his press conference, as you can imagine, afterwards, reminding me of John McEnroe when he quickly spoke to Roger Federer at the end of that epic match that Federer lost to Nadal in 2008, when McEnroe says to Federer, listen, I know you lost today, but does it mean anything that you've just taken part in the greatest tennis match I've ever seen? And Roger says, thanks, John. Yeah, a little bit. But I think actually as the years have gone by, I think Federer has appreciated both the rivalry and his participation in that awesome match. And hopefully Jannik Sinner will do the same. And by the way, talking of rivalries, I'm going to finish my comments on this match with 3 words to both players. Take a bow. Okay. Match 1 dealt with in 37 minutes. I hope you excuse the, what's the word, indulgence in that match. It was just incredible. Listen, I was at Flushing Meadow yesterday and I saw the 2 matches in the day. 2 good matches, I thought. The first match possibly a little bit less so. I thought Pliskova was very flat in that first set. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat on the 3 remaining matches now. Let's try and switch tack. I want to hear your thoughts on Sabalenka's straight sets win over Pliskova. I also want to hear what you think about the other straight sets matches where we saw Tiafoe winning against poor Andrey Rublev, and also the Iga Swiatek straight sets win over Jessica Pegula, who was having a beer in her press conference afterwards. Sabalenka was asked in her encore interview after this win, of course, actually about her serve and her service motion, which actually, well, she highlighted the fact that she changed her service motion and it seemed to improve her a lot. We remember the double faults that she was unfortunately suffering in Australia, and it seemed to be an attack of the yips there more than anything else. But she also talked about some technical issues that she's dealt with, and we're seeing the benefits of that now with 7 aces and just 3 double faults yesterday. Conversely, on the other side of the net, Pliskova, who was extremely flat in that first set. I think she lost her serve 3 times as she lost that first set 6-1. All in all, Sabalenka looking really good, but I do think Pliskova was particularly flat. It took her a set to get going, by which it was possibly too late to get back in the match. And also Pliskova, they're doubling the number of double faults compared to her opponent. Yeah, just a comfortable win, which is a great sign for Sabalenka. She, of course, will now play Iga Swiatek in the other semi-final. Iga Swiatek is a match we covered on the live stream. Be sure to check out our commentary. I know it's not live anymore, but we've got a commentary from that match last night. I had a couple of great experts with us. I had Vonch on, I had Isabel, and I had Jack, all from Popcorn Tennis, give me their insights into the match. So some really good insights there. I think it doesn't do any harm to maybe, if you did want to watch the match again or go through some of the match again, or just have it on in the background to remind yourself of how that played out. Be sure to click on that. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, by the way. Get your comments in the live chat about these 3 matches, because I will talk about these 3 matches and then come to your comments shortly. Iga winning this one in straight sets, but listen, Iga was the better player, but she did get a bit careless in that second set. She did seem to make some unforced errors, seemingly go a bit long on the forehand. We saw, I think, in that second set, was it 10 breaks of serve out of the 12 games? It was just insane. But it didn't feel like the level was super high. It just seemed to be quite a sluggish match. That's not to say there weren't some excellent shots and some excellent exchanges between the two. But it kept feeling like, okay, Iga, go and win this now. Iga, okay, go and win this now. Go and win this now, Iga. And she couldn't quite close it out, and she couldn't quite get the job done. Get the job done she did, though, eventually in that tiebreak, emerging 7-4 and winning the match in straight sets with just one ace apiece in the match. But if we look at the total points won, it was a fairly comfortable win for Iga with 79 points to 64. It never really felt as though Pegula was in this match. I guess that's the biggest compliment you can pay to Iga and maybe the biggest disappointment for Pegula. So that's a straight sets win for Iga. She will now play Sabalenka in the semi-final, which will be taking place tonight. And I will be addressing that very shortly as well. I think it's a match to really look forward to. Let me know your thoughts in the live comments on the two women's semi-finals tonight as well. I'll come to that in a second, though. Another match I was in the stadium for was Frances Tiafoe against Andrey Rublev yesterday. The first set was very much nip and tug with basically neither really under pressure on their serve. I think there were maybe one break point in that first serve, but if there was, it never felt like either player was going to lose serve. Then it goes into the tiebreak, and Tiafoe goes into tiebreak mode. Let's say we've got Grand Slam mode. Well, Tiafoe has a tiebreak mode, and we'll be addressing that a bit more in a second because in the second set, again, few threats on the serve. Tiafoe looking imperious on his serve, but Andrey's holding serve pretty comfortably. The forehand is looking pretty good from the Russian. Neither player can really make an impression, and so unsurprisingly, it goes to another tiebreak. But let me tell you something. In this tiebreak, Frances Tiafoe went into God mode. Okay, we talked about Grand Slam mode. We talked about tiebreak mode. Well, Tiafoe tiebreak needs to be a new nickname because he was just insane. Not just his ground strokes, but his touch at the net was also insane. And he won this tiebreak 7-love. And he does that wonderful run to the chair as he celebrates that. And the crowd, of course, erupted. I couldn't help but applaud myself. And then we saw this moment where Andrey Rublev is close to tears, 2-love down. He's certainly very emotional anyway. I know some people on Twitter were suggesting he was crying, but listen, he seemed to be heartbroken. Of course, I think Jack told me last night, this is now 6 quarterfinals for Rublev that he's lost at majors. Yeah, it's becoming a bit of an unfortunate habit, shall we say, for him. I do hope that one day he manages to overcome this, unfortunately, this mental barrier that he may well have. And Tiafoe goes on to break Rublev's serve, the first break of serve in the match, sort of mid to late point of the third set, and closes it out, which is equally impressive. I think he closed it out. I actually shared the match point on Twitter, so make sure you follow at Talking Tennis TT, and also I think on the YouTube channel, I think it's there. So make sure you subscribe. So yeah, the Tiafoe match point, I think he does it with an ace, bringing up his 18th ace of the match. And again, Rublev, just like Rafa in the previous round, just couldn't get a read on the Tiafoe. I think it's the speed and the accuracy, but I think it's also the read. And it'll be interesting to see how Carlos Alcaraz deals with that, particularly given some of his awesome returns yesterday. But of course, the first serve percentage from Tiafoe is still pretty low. It was in and around 50% against Rafa. Same again yesterday. I do think, therefore, Alcaraz will be able to attack that second serve much better than Andrey Rublev did. And I do think that Tiafoe will be under pressure more on his serve. But that's for tomorrow. Let's go to the live chat to think about some of the matches that are coming up later today, and also to think about some of the matches I just spoke about that I raced through much quicker, of course, than the other matches. What's going on here? Yeah, Ghost there thinking the Cahill Halep split was bizarre. Yeah, Ashley there saying what an awesome coach. She thinks Cahill is, and I think we're more or less all in that. Who do I think will make it to the semis? Do you mean who do I think will win in the semis? I think that's what you mean, Lexi, because obviously the semis are now set. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Who's going to be playing the final? That's all I want to know. So we've got Iga against Sabalenka. Let's talk about Iga against Sabalenka. I want I or S in the live chat right now. I for Iga, S for Sabalenka. Is that a bit too complicated? Just put Iga or Saba. Iga or Saba. I'll get the message anyway. Iga or Saba in the live chat. Who do you think is going to win that match? I'm making Iga the slight favorite, but Sabalenka's looked really good since that come from behind win against Kai Kanepi. Oh, okay. So there you go, Lexi. Thanks. Who's making it to the finals? Yeah. Well, I've got probably Iga and Garcia making it. Garcia playing on Jabeur in the other semi-final. Garcia in the form of her life. If she reproduces that form, I don't think Ons can live with her. But of course, it's a big if she can reproduce that form. Ghost there thanking me for the indulgence on that first match that I highlighted, as we're all tennis nerds here. Yeah, of course, regarding the world number one, Alcaraz will become world number one. I think if he wins the title, if Casper Ruud wins the title, he'll become number one. If neither make the final, Rafael Nadal becomes number one. I think that's pretty much the scenario. I may have missed one scenario out, but anyway. Gary, they're saying Aryna teases again, making us think she'll break through. She beats anyone on her best day except this version of Caroline. Well, of course, Aryna's obviously going to be playing against Iga. So, but I guess by this you think that Aryna Sabalenka is going to beat Iga and make a final against Garcia. Please, nobody jinx Sabalenka. I've been craving her slam success for years. I would like it. Listen, I've got nothing against Iga, but she's won a couple of majors, so I'd be quite pleased to see Sabalenka make it through to the final. Did Pegula feel the pressure? Maybe in front of her home New York crowd. Maybe, yeah. Of course, she is a New Yorker herself. Oh yeah, okay, Gary. I didn't really touch on it enough in yesterday's. You saw from yesterday's review. Soon to be the service line, yeah. Well, just so everybody's clear, on the Garcia. Here we go. We've got high tech here at Talking Tennis. Here's the tennis court, if we can see this. Boom. And we are showing first serve return point for Garcia on the baseline. Second serve, a meter in from the baseline. And Gary is suggesting that maybe eventually we'll see her creeping up so far that she'll end up going to point number 3 there, very badly drawn number 3, and she'll end up getting to the service line to return serves. She's so aggressive, so awesome, particularly on the forehand side. That is something Ons is obviously going to have to look out for. I think it can also be pretty intimidating as well. What do I think? It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable that she's found the consistency as well that she probably couldn't quite find for the previous 10 years. It's been almost 10 years, I think, since Andy Murray said she's going to be a future world number one. It's incredible now that she's found this groove. How long can she keep it going for? She can just keep it going for two or three more days. She's probably going to be US Open title champion. Okay. Any more comments on those matches that I mentioned? Francis there rising to the occasion. Absolutely. In his element on Ash. His tiebreak performances have been God mode. You agree. Thank you for that. You've got a Caroline Iga final. Okay, yeah, and Caroline to win. Thanks for that, Gary. Ghost of, that's a Sabalenka prediction. That's an Iga prediction. That's a Sabalenka prediction for today's match between those two. So it looks like Sabalenka winning that one 2-1, at least in terms of the predictions. And I certainly can see it going 3 sets one way or the other. Okay, let's get to back to the Garcia match coming up this evening. Looks like maybe we've got another comment in here, maybe a prediction. Anyway, so now we've got Garcia or Ons. So we've got Caroline Garcia, CG, against Ons Jabeur, OJ, orange juice. So OJ or CG? OJ or CG? Who is winning that match? Get your comments in the live chat now. OJ or CG, who you think is going to win? I'm going Caroline Garcia. Maybe in straight sets. I'm not sure about either of them at this stage. I'm not sure about how Ons is with the pressure. Maybe she doesn't feel it quite as much as she did at Wimbledon, where she was a pretty heavy favourite the further that tournament went on, especially going into the final. Not sure about Caroline Garcia as well. Is she going to keep redlining, or is that going to eventually blow up? Don't know. Might happen this evening, might not. But because I've got doubts about both of them, I'm just going to go for the person who's been better in this tournament by a long way and been better really all summer, or certainly since Wimbledon, and that's Caroline Garcia. And it looks like Ghost and Gary also thinking the same. Anyway, this has been John Silk reporting to you live from New York, where there's been a bit of tennis going on. Lexi there going Caroline Garcia as well. So that's 4 of us saying CG will win. Tennis World, thanks for stopping by.